welcome back to Big Dan's Airguns review channel. Today we've got yet another sponsored video review. So, depending on what's inside here, we've either impressed the right people or depressed the wrong people. This today comes to us courtesy of Rangerite, the importers for Kral, Crosman, amongst many other brands. It's due to these guys that we can deal with Weihrauch, Walther and all brands such as those. If you're new to the game like myself and you're an RFD looking to branch out so you can supply your customers with premium brands and such like that, definitely give Rangerite a call. They're more than happy to help a new guy on the block out. I am evidence of that. But enough of that. Let's see what they've sent us in here. So there's a rather loud tractor going by. There we go. Hopefully he's helped us build up some tension. And let's see what we've been sent. Oh, well, that is definitely not a budget rifle, nor is it a budget Springer at that. I think we've definitely gone the opposite direction with this one. This is the brand new Kral Puncher Pro 500. Haven't actually reviewed any of the Kral products yet, but I am very much looking forward to, and what a hell of a start we have right here. So thanks ever so much for Rangerite for sending us this rifle for a review. And enough of my blabbering on. Let's move on to the feature section of this review and let's see what you get for your money with the Kral Puncher Pro 500. Let's move on. So then, features. What do you get with the Kral Puncher Pro 500? As per always, we start at the rear of the rifle, and you can see here the rubber butt pad is really nicely finished and it is ventilated as well. Moving further along, you've got that stunning cheek piece. Now, admittedly, we're looking at the rifle from the right-hand side. Obviously, if you're a right-handed shooter, your cheek would be on the left side of the rifle, so it is a bit flat at the minute, and it does also show that these rifles, they're not really... A lefty could get on with it, maybe, but it's not really an ambidextrous gun. This is more a right-handed rifle. But you can see here the amount of work that has gone into this stock is unbelievable, and that is not beech or anything like that either. This is Turkish walnut, what we're looking at right now. You can even see down here you've got the Kral Arms logo that has been stamped into the butt pad here towards the rear of the rifle. Again, doesn't need to be done, but it's a lovely little bit of attention to detail. And speaking of attention to detail, look up here towards the rear of the action in the stock. They've even carved out here a place for you to rest your thumb while you're shooting. Now that is absolutely gorgeous, it really is. But enough of that. Again, we've already mentioned the stock. Let's move a little bit further on. You've got the safety up here, which is sort of a flick on and off affair. It is not automatic. It's simply a case of when you want the gun to fire, simply flick this forwards, and when you want to make it safe, pull it back. Simple as that. Moving back down, you can see we've got the trigger unit here, which is, this is where this is different to the standard Puncher Jumbo, because the Puncher Jumbo, if you take a look at it, has the standard Kral trigger unit, which isn't a bad unit, but it was a little bit unrefined feeling, or at least that was my experience with it. With this, however, it's as light as a feather, but again, we're going to talk a little bit more about that when we get to the actual shooting or handling part of the review, so we'll move away from that just for now. As you can see, this is a side lever operated rifle. Unlike the standard Puncher Pro, which went to a bolt action, they have gone back, like the standard Puncher, to a side lever operating system. Again, we'll talk more about that when we get to the handling section of the review. Moving slightly further on, you can see here we've also got a little dial. Now, if you're a previous owner of a Kral rifle, you'll know exactly what that is. That is a power adjuster, which we will be testing out in the Chronograph section of the review to see how much of a difference it actually makes and if it even works in the UK. So that would be quite interesting. Moving slightly further along still, you can see you've got this great big shroud covering up the barrel here. It's not a massive barrel, to be fair, it's about standard length, but that shroud on top of there just makes it look like such an awesome piece of kit. It really does. It makes it stand out. Down here we've also got the buddy bottle. This is another departure from the standard Puncher Pro, which used an air cylinder. It is a 500cc bottle. Now the rifle isn't regulated. That's a slight potential fly in the ointment, but we'll have to tell. We'll see how many shots you get out of this thing with the rifle lacking a reg, but I think it's, we'll put it this way, I think it's going to be enough even though it's not regulated, simply looking at the sheer volume of this thing. But it doesn't just stop there. You've also, if we move underneath, this rifle has the fill probe sort of built into the rifle. I do hope you can see that. And in our little box that you might have noticed when we were showing the rifle in the case, It's a little box of tricks, and you get an adapter that fits over that you can simply attach to your whip and fill the thing up with. So you're not worrying about with probes and things like that all day long. It's just literally just put the adapter on there and fire away. The probe is built into the gun. Hopefully you can also see that is also where the pressure gauge sits, and you've got this lovely bit of stippling underneath here, and hopefully you can make out there they've left it so as it says puncher in the front end. Amazing attention to detail, especially for a gun, like I said, that with all this on it and with this stock you'd expect it to SRP at $1,000, but we're pleasantly, well, we're surprised to say that we're going to be knocking these out for about 550 quid a pop. Turkish walnut, 550 quid. It'd take a lot to beat that, let's just put it that way. But we're not done there either. If you move slightly further along, you'll see here there's a little threaded out section, a little hole in the forestock here. Now that is because the Puncher Pro, if I'll just spin the camera down for you here, the Puncher Pro comes with a tiny little Picatinny or Weaver styled rail and a small screw. And what that's for is for if you want to put any attachments underneath the rifle here. Quite frankly, I wouldn't. I think even a bipod on this thing would be blasphemy, if I'm being honest with you. It would ruin the lines of the rifle. But if you was that way inclined, you could put a bipod on here with the adapter and such, what you have here, standard straight out of the box. So you don't need to drill anything out on this rather lovely piece of wood. It's literally all set up and ready to go straight out the box. You also, with this rifle, another really nice touch, you get 2 magazines as standard. These are 14 shot mags in 177, and you also get a single shot tray that goes along with that. But we're also not done there either. You get even more, because this case that you see here isn't just something we've been sent for the video review. This comes with each Puncher Pro that you order, either the standard model or the 500, and it is a really, really nice case. It's foam lined on the inside, so nothing in there is going to get damaged, and again, comes free with a £550 gun. As we mentioned, you'd expect that maybe on a £1,000 gun or something like a Steyr or maybe an FX, something like that, but nope, you're getting it with the Kral Puncher Pro 500. Now, we've done nothing but sing its praises so far, so how about we get into things that might be a little bit, or potentially a little bit more negative for certain people out there. And we're going to start with weight. We'll get our scales out and get the thing weighed. We'll do this without a scope this time, so you can see what the rifle weighs, and then you can calculate in your head what it'd weigh with your favourite scope, say Hawk Air Max, Discovery, VT, something like that. So we'll get it weighed now, and we'll see how much it weighs. Now it looks really quite heavy, but I think you might be surprised. Anyway, let's get the raw data and let's get it weighed. So the Pro 500's on the scales, let's take a look. She's coming out here at 8.52 pounds. Now it's definitely up there when it comes to weight, but that, as we always say, can be mitigated a hell of a lot depending on how the rifle is balanced. So let's chuck a scope on there and let's put it to the shoulder and see exactly how it actually feels. Let's move on to handling. So before we talk about handling, we've got to talk about how to load the mag. Now, you won't need one of these. Kral mags can be done simply using your mitt. All you need to do is spin the mag all the way around like so, and you'll see it does sort of lock itself in place, but I don't really trust that too much. Now what you're going to want to do is, if you can see my finger on the other side of that hole, just block that hole off and put your first pellet in like so. Now you can spin the dial anti-clockwise and load each pellet through the top like you would with a regular mag. And the mechanism in the magazine is putting tension on the first pellet we've loaded, which is essentially locking the system in place. So after that, it's simply a case of loading each pellet in like so, and then loading the mag into the rifle just like that. Now you can see I was trying to make that transition as smooth as possible, but I fluffed the magazine loading up a little bit just in the breech there. Now the mag on this, it's not as simple to load in the breech as something like the Artemis M16s and things like that, which have the magnets underneath that you basically, all you have to do is line it up and the thing will just click itself straight in place. With this one, there's a groove on the back of the mag that you've got to line up with the slot inside the action. And essentially you've got to get them in there, otherwise you'll fumble around with it a little bit and it might be a little bit of a struggle to load the thing. So maybe in night time that might not be such a great system, but to be honest, it's nothing worth complaining about, to be fair. But how does the Kral Puncher Pro 500 handle? Well, really, really nicely. First thing I'm going to mention is what I do find not uncomfortable as such, but just a little bit strange, is that you may have seen earlier the part of the stock here is hollowed out so as you can fill the gun. You've got your pressure gauge in there as well. And the way I tend to hold the rifle is that my hand is around there, which feels a little bit odd, maybe, but it's nothing really worth complaining about too much. I'm sure we'll adapt, or well, you can see there, just slide the hand slightly further forwards and everything is lovely. That cheek piece is gorgeous, and why I like that so much is because a lot of the guns you'll see we review on here, like, you know I like them, but like the Artemis M16s, take a look at the Artemis M11. The cheek piece on those guns seems to be more sporter design, like a sporter stock, so it's more like a straight, maybe slightly low cheek piece. The M16's better with this, it has got quite a generous cheek piece on there, but with that sort of rifle and the design of the gun, the magazine actually sits atop the action, it pokes out the top, so you have to have high mounts on there. So that tall cheek piece, it does its job, but you're still sort of, you're up on it, like this. So you've got your chin in there, but not really your cheek. So it's comfortable enough and you get used to it, but it's not as comfortable as something like this. And why this is so great is not simply because of, I mean, just look at the thing, but it's also because you don't need that tall a mount, because the mag comes more out the side than it does out the top. Hopefully you can see that there. And it's, well, I'll just put it this way, it is lovely to bring up and focus on. It's pretty quick as well, despite how the gun looks. You think it'd be a big lumbering beast of a rifle. It's not, it's actually really quite fast to handle. Let's see how still we can hold the thing. I can hold it reasonably still, not as still as I can the Artemis M16. You know, that's, I hate to keep bringing it up, but that gun, you know, it's one of my favourites. I can't hold it quite as still as that, but at the end of the day, this has a huge, great buddy button on the front, and the M16 doesn't. Like I said, the balance as such isn't quite dead centre, it's slightly forward of centre. It is around here, about there. So it might be because of that that I'm waving around just a little bit more. It could be because my hand, again, I've got to get used to that in there, isn't massively comfortable there, but it's no major hindrance. But it's not the most, I can't hold it the stillest as some as I can some of the other rifles we've reviewed on this channel. So let's talk now about the trigger. Now, the trigger on the older Kral rifles, like the Kral Puncher Jumbo, you've got the Puncher, you've got the Puncher Pro, you see where I'm going with this. They weren't a bad unit, but they definitely needed adjusting out of the box, because fresh out the box it almost felt a little bit like a three-stage trigger. There'd be almost three different weights as you're pulling the thing. With adjustment, which is what I advise everybody does with a brand new Kral rifle, you can turn it into a really nice two-stage unit, but it still wasn't as crisp as some of the other trigger units on the market. Now this, on the other hand, let me just give it a squeeze just to refresh my memory, is brilliant. You can see they've revised the trigger unit here. It's got more of a match type trigger blade going on here, and that is really, really nice. It's got a very slight first stage, which hopefully you can see there. It's very tiny. This is straight out of the box. It's got a very tiny little first stage here, and you can feel it stops just there. And it's so light that there's no, not even with my little finger, it takes no real effort just to get the thing going. That is a really, really nice trigger unit, I've got to be honest. Kral, you have absolutely, you've done us proud with that trigger. Like I said, the old one's not bad, but this one is a completely different ball game compared to the older ones. So cycling, let's have a go at this, because some guns can be a bit raunchy, especially from new. Let's have a little look. Now that's pretty damn good. There's a little bit of resistance as you're loading the pellet into the breech, but again that can happen with some guns. I think we mentioned it with the Zabroya Hortizia review, but it's pretty damn nice. Let's just give that another squeeze. That's good. But that is smooth as silk. It's light as a feather to cock the thing back, but pushing it home, yeah, there's a tiny bit more resistance, but you're probably going to get that because obviously the pellet's being loaded through. But yeah, it's a really, really nice thing. When it comes to sound with the rifle, there is a sort of silencing effect on the go with the shroud on here, but you also have, now I bet you thought I wasn't going to mention this, that is a threaded barrel on the end there. If you take that thread protector off the end, you've got thread that you can put a silencer on. Now there's a bit of a crack to it. You've got to bear in mind when we film this we are in a barn, so it's a lot louder than what it really is. So if I just give that a squeeze and shut my mouth, yeah, there's a little crack there, but the actual strangest sound, what you hear from the action, is the hammer spring. There's a definite ting when you pull the trigger. It could be something only isolated to this. The standard Puncher Pro that we had that had the air cylinder on the front, another one with that gorgeous walnut stock, but the one with the standard air cylinder on the front, that didn't ting quite so much, whereas this one does. So it could simply be, could just be down to this rifle, or it could be a thing with all the Puncher Pro 500s. We'll soon see. Now, something else that's interesting with this gun that we mentioned on the features section is, do you recall the dial that we talked about on the right hand side? Well, that is the power adjuster, and hopefully you can see that there. You can see there's a plus and a minus and another sort of dial or gauge here, and as I spin that power adjuster, you can see the screw lines up with the different marks on our little gauge on here. So you've got completely low power here, which again we'll test through the chronograph, see what that's coming out at. And you've got full power all the way up here, and you can set it in between there as well. So you've heard what it sounds like on full power. Let's put it on minimum power now, and let's give that a listen. Ooh. Always helps if you cock the thing first. Let's give that a listen. Yeah, hopefully you can hear that. It's a bit more of a hollow thunk when you pull the trigger. But yeah, it's a really, really nice feature to have, especially for people who do a lot of shooting in barns and things like that, and you don't really want to over penetrate the animal and have it go and damage the woodwork in the background and such. You can simply turn the dial straight to the minus on here, or put it, if you're shooting say 25 yards, 20 yards, set it about halfway, 3/4 of the way through, and you're going to get maximum impact on the animal you're shooting, and hopefully very little or no over penetration. So that is really, really, really good. The only thing that I'm not quite sure on when it comes to handling, other than, like I said, this cutout, but that's not, I think we're nitpicking a little bit, is, you know, we tend to get picky with our safeties, and this one, you can see it here, hopefully, it's a satisfying safety to use, that metallic tick when you switch it on, off and on, but it's not in the most intuitive of places. I mean, you can switch it off and on with your finger, but you sort of put it from safe to fire. Me at least, I've got to sort of wrestle my finger around a little bit until I can switch it on and off. I mean, obviously you can turn it sideways and just click it like that, and then, oh, it's not cocked, off you go. But it's not the nicest, well, not the nicest, but it's not terrible, but it could have been better, I'll put it that way. It would have been really nice if they could have fitted a safety in the rear here. Obviously you've got the side lever action there that sort of get in the way, and you could put it lower, but at the end of the day, if I'm being honest, I don't want them cutting out those thumb resting points here, because that is really nice. But yeah, even just a safety maybe just in front of the trigger blade here that you can just click, click and fire away. But overall, handling wise, I think you're going to be really surprised when you pick up the Puncher Pro 500. It's no way near, it's not a light gun, but it's no way near as heavy as it looks. A little fun fact is that, like I mentioned, we get the standard Puncher Pro with the bolt action that hopefully we'll be showing on here soon, but not too soon. We're going to go back to our budget rifles first for a while, because we only did a few of them and then we've already gone to this. But the standard Puncher Pro with the air cylinder that comes up here is actually heavier than this one, and that's because if you look, this one's got a little bit less wood to accommodate for the buddy bottle. But that's it for handling. Overall, I think we can say very impressed. The woodwork does feel absolutely stunning in the shoulder, especially that cheek piece is absolutely beautiful. Like we said, only niggles, little gap in here, safety's a bit nah, and loading the mag is a little bit of a faff maybe at night. But before we go, there is just one little feature I want to mention that I probably should have mentioned earlier, and that was, did you notice when we was loading the mag, you could see there was numbers corresponding to the amount of pellets that was left in the mag? Well, that is a neat little feature, because you can see just how many pellets you've got left, and you don't even really have to pull the gun away from your shoulder or anything like that. Just keep it shouldered, quick look down, I can see it's on 8, and pop, and it'll click itself down to 7. So yeah, now I mean we'll finish the handling section, but yeah, it's a really nice gun, or a surprising gun to shoulder, and there's a lot of cool features going on here with the thing, and stand out, like I say, with the stock, how that thing feels is unreal. But it's not a whole lot of good if it shoulders well and it's got a nice amount of features. If it's a bit crap through the chrono, and especially if it's only got about 20 shots per fill, which I don't think that's going to be a problem this time, but we've got to test it, haven't we? We've got to be thorough. So let's whack the chronograph out and let's get this thing tested and see what the thing can do. Moving on to chronographing. Okay then, so it's chronograph time. We've got the chrono all set up here. We're firing in a safe direction. You can see we've got the stand sitting here, which is facing already straight away at the foam, where you'll be getting a live, as always, a live reading as to what the gun's doing. You can see that you'll be looking through it like this, where hopefully you can see everything. Our pellets for today are the Remington or HN Field Target Trophy pellets, which are 8.64 grain, and we'll be using the multi-shot mags to get the chrono test done. Now with this rifle, I've had a chat with Rangerite, and they say, although it says max fill 250 bar, you're best off filling it to around 230 bar. And the reason behind that is that the Kral rifles, the Puncher Pro, the Punchers, they come with a burst disc. And what that is for is because if you overfill the gun, save the air cylinder going off like a grenade, that can happen if you do go a bit too crazy with it, and it's with all guns, all PCPs will do it. The burst disc will give away first, and it'll vent the air so as it doesn't blow a limb off, which is always, you know, it's a good start. It's good to hear that. But they say 230 bar is what they'd recommend for max fill. Anything beyond that, you never know, the disc might rupture or something along those lines. As you can see here, if we just pan the camera through, hopefully you can make that out. It's on about 230 at the minute. We've got 72% of battery in the GoPro at the moment. If you notice there's a bit of a skip or a jump or a cutaway, that's because I'll be putting a new fresh battery in there, because we could be here for quite a while. So we'll get the camera all set up and in its rest here, and yeah, I'll get plugging away and let's see what the gun can do. And as for always, we're looking for consistency, power and shot count. So let's crack on and see what the Puncher Pro is capable of. Right, so chronograph results. Well, we can say it's definitely not a regulated rifle, but it definitely did pretty damn well when it comes to consistency, at least in my opinion. Obviously we'll take no real attention to spread because we shot the thing until it was basically out of puff. I was about to call it quits when it was about 10.2 foot-pounds. I was about to say, right, that's enough, but I carried on a bit further because you may have noticed as we was shooting it a bit earlier through, it dropped to around 730 and then it picked itself back up to around 740 again. So I thought, you know what, we'll put a few more through, it might pick itself back up, but it didn't. It just very softly and gradually brought its way back down again. Well, Rangerite informed me before I did this review that it's most consistent from 200 bar and downwards, and as we said, we filled this to 230 bar, so we do get more of a genuine idea as to the max shot count as what you can get. Again, the gun does have 250 bar stamped on the side, that's the max fill, but like I mentioned, burst discs, you always want to be a little bit careful around them, so by their advice we stopped at about 230-ish. So you can see here it's churning out its first few shots at 11.5-ish foot-pound, 11.55, 11.23. We'll take a look at the FPS. You can see here it's 776 and it sort of hovers around the 760 mark. There's a couple of 750s in there as well, but it's pretty good, to be fair. It's 769, 768, 767, 769, 765, 769. It seems to have two, well, it's an unregulated gun, so obviously when the pressure gets low, there's no regulator in there to keep it consistent, it will just naturally fall off. It seems to have two sweet spots though, from 230 bar probably down to 200. You can see it's pretty consistent, 770, 765. It stays in the 77s, well, say 750s to 770s, so about a 20 FPS spread. But when we get to, say, 200 bar, and you can see, let's just keep going, so 60, 70, 80. Let's see, is it great? Yeah, it's coming down now. So say from the 90th, you got up to 90 shots where it's, say, like I said, it's pretty consistent around the 750s to 770s. That's pretty good for an unregulated gun, about 20 FPS. But as you go on, it seems to then sub 200 bar, it settles down to around 740, 750. Which is probably, like I said, they already did say to me 200 bar is about the sweet spot. And if we just keep flicking through, you can see it sits at like 740, 750. But to my knowledge, I don't think it ever touches 760 again. It just sort of sits here. 747, 742, 746, 743, 753, sorry, 754, 752. it's pretty consistent, to be fair. It's not too bad at all. 744, you got 756 there, so 11 FPS difference there. And you can see it sort of slowly drops off here, but I think there you go, it picks straight back up again, 741. So you've got quite a few shots to play with. It is a consistent gun, but like I said, it just seems to have two sweet spots. If you want full power, keep it above 200 bar, but if you can stretch it out and you can go 200 bar and below, I mean, at the minute it's sitting on, if you can see that, I called it quits there. What is that? About 130 bar-ish, I'd say. About 130 bar is where it's proper dropped off, and we started hitting like 9 foot-pound. But it seems to be, I mean, it's got a fair set of lungs to it, and even when it's beginning to come down here on, let's see, when does it drop from? Right, your last 740 is 175th shot in. Then after that, 176, you can see it drops off, say it's on 7.3 now, still going through 7.3. But it's very, very gentle when it does fall off. You got there, 7.35, 7.33. We had quite a few duplicate shots come through as well. You can see a few of them here. That's you got two 7.32s, you got, I think that's three 7.31s and another 7.32 on top. It is a very, even when it bleeds off, it is a very consistent rifle. But then, as you can see here, we start dipping into the 9s, and I think, yep, nah, I think we'll call it quits now. So the 210th shot, we've gone from, I think it's 11.6 feet-pound all the way down to 9.97. It's pretty good. Again, it's not a regulated gun, but it is trying its hardest to prove that it is one. Especially if you keep it, if you bear in mind the, as we said, 230 to 200 bar, you seem to get consistency throughout that, with a high power, so around 11.6 foot-pound or 11 plus feet-pound. But it seems to be 200 down to probably about 150, 140 bar. You've got quite a few shots here where it's around 740 to 750 FPS. We just flick back. There goes your 740s coming through. If we keep going, you'll see there's a few 750s coming through. So it's pretty damn good. It's definitely, as we said, not a regulated gun, but it's got some lungs on it. We'll put it that way. And if there are any tinkerers out there that can put a regulator on this, well, I'll put it this way, I think it's got some pretty huge potential. We'll put it like that. But that's it for consistency testing. But what we're going to do now is we're going to give it another pump up, and we're then going to test the power adjuster, because we haven't covered that yet, and it's quite an interesting little feature that this gun has. So let's go get a pump and let's test this adjuster out. So let's have a look at the power adjuster. We've got the rifles just had a fresh fill. It's sitting on the max power setting at the moment, and just pan it through so you can take a look. The gun is on my lap at the minute. You can see there the screw head is pointing to the plus, which is full power. And what we're going to do, we'll put 2 shots through on the full power setting so we can see exactly what the rifle's doing, just to remind ourselves. It should be doing around 11.6, 11.5 from a fresh fill up to about 230 bar. We'll put 2 through it, and then we'll adjust the power down a bit on the adjustment, or adjuster I should say, and then see how it comes out on the chrono. So we're on max power at the minute. Let's flick the safety off. Error is coming up in front of me on the chrono, so this is going to be good. I do apologise about wobbling the table. Let's just put one into this. We're getting 771, so 11.41. Let's go again, just to be sure. And 773, so pretty good. Spread of 2 there, 2 over 2 shots. Right, now what we're going to do is I'm going to adjust this now all the way to the minus. Let me just pan it down for you. So hopefully you can see that. The shadows are being a bit of a nuisance, but the screw head is now pointing to the minus. Let me rig you up so you can see the chrono results again. And let's give it a go. Oh, just majorly smacked the chronograph there. Poor thing, he's put through some abuse. So we're on the minus. Let's go 2 shots. That's a bit of a difference. Let's go again. That's a massive difference. Look at the spread on that. It's like we're doing our B2 review all over again. But you can see there, 750 and 754. Now, for a little test, we're going to, if I pan you back down here, hopefully you can see that, let's twist the adjuster and let's put it halfway and see what happens. Now, I don't think this is going to work. I think it's just going to put it in high again, but let's give it a little go. So let's put it halfway. So it's 754 and 11.4. Cycle it, and let's see what numbers we get with this. Yeah, it's gone back into high. Let's just go again. Yeah, so power-wise, you can see they're pretty consistent in high. Power-wise, the adjuster seems to be pretty much a case of on or off sort of thing. So all the way on the plus is full power, all the way to the minus is negative, and in between doesn't really seem to do a great deal. But it's still a nice feature to have. You've still definitely got, as you can see here, your high and low settings. I'll just whack it into low just one more time, just see what it comes out with. So you got there, you can see 754 with low before. Let's give it another go. There we go, 62. 619. So yeah, we're back to 7.4. We've got 7.4, 7.3, 7.5, 7.5. So yeah, we can gladly say that the power adjuster does work. Now it doesn't work in if you adjust it in small increments. It is very much an on-off affair. But to be fair with you, there's not really many cases where I've heard anybody sit down and say, I want an adjuster that's 10 foot-pounds, but I don't want 9 or 11. It has to be a perfect 10. Usually it is literally a case of, well, can I have it high and low? Essentially, which is what the Kral gives you here. So you can't, in my opinion anyway, that's all a review is, an opinion, but I can't knock it off any point simply because you can't go in between. You either have high for outdoor hunting or put it in low for barn work and job done. You can't complain. Lovely bit of kit. And interesting that it does work in the UK. We just need the Nova Vistas to do the same thing. SMK, if you're watching this, come on fellas, figure something out. Well, that's it for consistency testing. So what we're going to do now is we're now going to do the accuracy test, and let's see what this gun can do. And we've got a few different pellet brands and makes and such that we're going to use for the test. As per usual, we're going to do a few shots at 25 yards. And yeah, let's see what the gun can actually do, and it's punching paper. Pretty impressive through the chrono. Power adjustment works well, but if you can't hit your target, what's the point? So, accuracy test time. You can see we've got our rest here, and if you have a look over yonder, hopefully it is a little bit bright, but hopefully you can see there's the 25-yard target about out there somewhere. Our first target card will be using our premium brand pellets, not rifles, sorry. We've got the JSB Exact RS Diablos coming in at 7.33 grain. Top right, we've got the Exact Standard Diablos, which come in at 8.44. We've got the Remington Thunder Field Target Trophy, or HN FTT pellets, which come in at 8.64. And down here we've got the Rifle Premium Series pellets, which are 8.33. And bottom right we've got the Air Arms Diablo Field pellets, which also come in at 8.4. Now here we've got our show potential range of pellets, or show's potential range of pellets. So top left, these used to be our wildcard pellets, but they've actually performed pretty damn well in some of the previous tests we've done. So they've sort of upgraded themselves, they've moved up the ladder, so to speak. So they're not so much a wildcard anymore, but we've got the SMK Victory Shocks, which will be coming in top left, and the Rifle Field Super Magnum pellets, which come in at 10.03 grains. Now, I don't think we've used these in reviews yet, but I have heard a hell of a lot of positive comments about them. So we'll give them a test here and see how much the Krals like them. Next up, now we have the wild cards. Now we have used these before, but we didn't have that much success. So in the top left-hand corner, we're going to have the Remington Tyrant Hammer pellets. Now they're not a badly made pellet, if I'm being honest, but they're definitely on the budget end of the spectrum, and they can be a little bit all over the place, we'll put it that way. But our absolute wildcard, which I'm sure will be playing off to the nostalgia of many a British viewer of this channel, we've got some wasps. Now these aren't Ely wasps, these are the modern wasps, so they're not quite the same as what you remember, but I've heard very mixed reviews about them, and again you can hear that's a brand new tin. There's there's none been taken out of it, so we're going to put a few shots with that, and there's only, well, this will be going dead centre, we'll put it that way, because there could be a pretty big spread on this one. To keep spreading to a minimum, we're going to stick to 6-shot groups using the single shot tray, and then when we find our favourite pellet, we'll put a full mag through into the target and see what we can do. So that's 14 shots straight through, hopefully, one hole. So, these are the pellets, and this is the order, and there's our target. And we've got got the rifle to the right of us here. We'll get this all positioned and ready, and we'll get the camera put down, and we'll see exactly what the Kral thinks of these targets and these pellets. So, let's punch some holes. Okay, so accuracy results. What do we think? Well, on our first card we had the premium pellets was putting through. I'll try and get my shadow out of the way if I can. And the JSB Exact Diablo RS were a little bit, let's move that out of the way, a little bit all over the place. Or at least it looks that way. But no, it's not quite a 5p group. That's a 20 pence group. Let's just get it and find out. Chuck that down there. Yeah, it's still grouped under a 20 pence piece, so not the most terrible group in the world, but definite room for improvement. Then we went over to the JSB Exacts, which was quite interesting because you can see there's 3 on the left and 3 on the right. So let's do the coin test. Easily sits under a 5p piece. But the interesting thing, and you guys will know more about this than me, because when you're shooting, or at least I'm shooting at the target there, where there's shadow between the different pieces of wood, I can't really see when the pellets are hitting the black. It's pretty much a case of turn the illumination on one dial and then aim and fire away. But it'd be interesting to see whether it was 3 here then 3 here, or if it was 1 1 2 2 3 3. But overall you've got a sub 5 pence group. Then we move on to the HN Remington FTTs, and these were much more impressive right until we had those 2 flyers. We had 3 or 4, sorry, in a tiny little hole here. But after that, I think we had the champions, or at least that's what it seems to be until we compare them to the rest, and that was the Rifle Premium series. Now we've got one little flyer off to the right here. Could be user error, could be because of the breeze. There was a little bit going around, and it's just completely dwarfed, even with the flyer, with the 5 pence piece. In fact, I've actually, if I can find it, I've got a loose pellet around here somewhere, and you can just about get the pellet in this little group in here. I'll find it in a moment and I'll show you what I mean. But that is a stupidly tight group there, and this is why we usually include the rifle pellets, because they're not as popular as JSB, but they definitely hold their own. After that we had the Air Arms Diablo Fields, and these were a bit of a mixed bag. It was almost the same thing as what we had with the JSBs happening, where you've got 2 on the left, or 3 I believe on the left, 2 on the right, and then you've got another one up high. Let me get my shadow out of the way. So you can sort of see what's going on there. Both pellets did a similar thing, and both pellets here are 4.52. It seems so far, because the rifle pellets are quite stiff. They're not a soft pellet like the JSB made pellets are, like the Air Arms and the JSB, well, the JSB pellet itself. I called up Rangerite, the importer, and what they actually said is that the Kral Puncher Pro 500 seems to really like the largest skirted pellets that you can get. So get 453 if you've got it in 177. And unfortunately for me and us, these are both, you can see that, 452. There you go, a little advertisement for Voimir there as well. But yeah, these are both 452, so that could be what screwed these up a little bit. Then we move over to our, not mediocre, but pellets that have promise, shall we say. So in the top left here, we have the SMK Victory Shocks, and we'll do the, you can see it's, oh, I've got to try and get my shadow out of the way. You can see there's a little bit of a spread going across, but once again, totally eaten by the 5 pence piece. Then we move across to the Rifle Field Super Magnums, which again, we've got a bit more of a spread here. It's really reaching out, this one, and I don't think this is going to be 5 pence. Not quite. If you look just under the bottom left-hand corner, you can see there's a little bit of a furry edge poking out there. So it's not quite 5p group capable, but still not terrible, for being honest. Not too bad. And then we move over to the real budget end pellets. So we've got here the Remington Tyrant Hammer, and I don't think I've got a coin big enough. You can see we've got one, actually, you might be able to hear it in the video. We hit the frame of the target, which is the one you can see here that's sort of splintered open. And then we've got the other 5 surrounding the ball here, which it's a bit messy. It's not that great. But how's this for a shocker? The Wasp pellets. Now again, it's not the cleanest group in the world, and I highly doubt we'd be able to get it under a 5 pence piece, the whole thing. But, oh my god, we did. There you go. 5 pence piece with wasps, one of the cheapest pellets that you can pick up today. The barrel on this thing, well, what I will say is the other thing that's working against this gun is the fact that the barrel on this is, it's not cleaned, it's as it comes out the box, like most of our reviews unless specified otherwise, and yeah, it's probably a little bit gunky, full of packing goo and all sorts of stuff. But even so, most of the groups that we've got here, even the worst looking ones, like this, you've got a bit of a vertical spread and you've got that shot going left, are grouping in less than a 5 pence piece. And as we said, we've got over here, I think the pellet of the day, shall we say. Bloody shadow in the way here. Let me just move that over. And you can see here, that is pretty much, you got about a pellet's width in here, and you got the one little flyer off to the right, which again, I'll put my hands up, is more than probably not me. So I think we can say the barrel itself has got an absolute ton of potential. It's one of the least pellet fussy barrels that we've had. When run in, I can only imagine that this here is probably going to be one solid group, along with the HNs, and also along probably with the air arms pellets as well. But as promised, that was with the single shot tray. Many rifles do tend to group very, very, very well with the single shot trays in place. So let's put the mag in there and let's go full mag, 14 shots, so just over double what we've just put through down here, with the rifle premium pellets, which I think we can all agree definitely shot the best. And let's see how big the group is when we do that. So let's move on to the full mag accuracy test. Okay then, so 25 yards accuracy test with a full mag. You might be able to hear and see it is quite gusty here today. It's not as calm as you might think it is. Hopefully you can see that through there. However, I think we did mention earlier that we was going to shoot into the white. I apologise if I didn't. This is actually a different day to the first day we was filming, and you can see we've got a really nice little cluster in there, and that is 14 shots, which is a full magazine. And if we put a 20p piece there, the 20p absolutely dwarfs it, and if we put a 5p piece there, 5p piece almost does as well. And what makes this even more special is not just the fact that it's a obviously, like I said, the gun's not or it's a bit of a gusty day, but the gun, as mentioned, the barrel has not been cleaned. In the amount of shots it's had through it is pretty much what you've seen us do for the review, and what I've done, well, essentially what I've done to zero the scoping. That's pretty much it. So we know it's had 200 pieces of lead go through it. 200 and, what would it be, about 209? Did we have 7 shots when we tested the power adjuster? It's something like that. So it's had about, if we're being extremely fair or unfair to the rifle, let's say 300. It's had 300 pellets through it. And as I mentioned, not cleaned, and a full mag 25 yards is easily under a 5p piece. But I'm not going to stop there, because much like the PR900 review when we did that, I think this rifle can do even more. So let's see if we can get ourselves back around the field. Most importantly, charge the GoPro batteries, because I've just had a really nasty red message come up on the screen saying low battery. So let's feed the GoPro, and then let's set our targets back up in the field, and let's see what the rifle can do then. Because I think that this, well, let's say I think it's got a lot of potential. Let's put it that way. So let's relocate and set something up, and let's see what the Kral can do. Let's see if he can live up to our challenge. Let's move out to the field. So we said we was going to do more with the Kral Puncher Pro, and I thought it was up to more, and we have since set our target up at our 50-yard mark down there. Now we're using the stake where you put the target card in the top of it, because with this we're actually going to try and get a group. We've got our rifle down here. As mentioned already, there has been no barrel cleaning going on with this, and it's only had the pellets through it that pretty much you guys have seen, other than the few to get it zeroed into 25 yards. We're going to get a few shots in just to zero it, and then we're going to go for a group. So let's see what the rifle can do at 50 yards. So then, 50-yard accuracy test. What do we think? Well, we did have some wind to deal with. You might be able to hear it hitting the camera now. A bit of right to left gust. Now, if we take a look, you can see we've got sort of, it's just about one group. You can see it's connected just here. But it's pretty much, you've almost got two groups here. One here, one just off to the left, and you've got one or two just here. And obviously you've got a flyer up there. We'll say flyer there and flyer there. Now, you can see the grass is, it looks like it's still through the camera, but I assure you that grass is moving. But it's basically it's because the right to left wind, it's gone from here and dragged over here and here. We'll scratch that one off maybe. We'll be extra fair. We won't count them. But the main cluster fits under a 20p piece. Hang on, let me just. I think I might have a 5p piece on this one. Just have a little rustle around. Right now. 20p is pretty damn small, as you can see here. There's not really there's a fair difference, but not a massive difference between a 5p piece. Let's just put a 5p there just to have a look. And yeah, it's the main cluster's almost 5p, but not quite. Whereas at 20p, you'll see a few little ragged edges coming out either side. But yeah, pretty damn good. Especially for a rifle that's yet to be run in or anything like that. It's not even had a tin of pellets through it yet, and the barrel has not been cleaned since new. So I think we can definitely say it's pretty damn impressive, especially considering the wind that we're having to deal with right now. But overall, I'm pretty impressed, but obviously everyone's opinion's different. You might look at that and say that's a load of crap. But that is the accuracy segment completely done on this review. So, you know where we're going next. We're going to go final verdict and see what we think. So, let's move on and wrap this show up. So then, Kral Puncher Pro 500. What's the review? Well, I'm personally pretty damn impressed with it, to be brutally honest. For a gun that's, it looks, well, let's just say from the looks department, you'd think it was well over £1,000 plus. It's 550 quid. So it definitely, it hammers down the looks department pretty much 10 out of 10 in my opinion. The attention to detail is absolutely stunning. Like you can see here, the Kral logo. You've got it says Puncher Pro and such underneath there. Again, I do apologise if you can't see that, but the actual attention to detail on this thing is brilliant, and just how comfortable this thing is as well when you put it to the shoulder with that huge, beautifully figured cheek piece there. And you can see the sculpting here if you rest your thumb either left or right of the action here just at the rear. Is lovely. The side lever is beautifully smooth to operate. The power adjuster does work. It doesn't work incrementally, as it might lead you to believe if you look at the indicator on the left hand side. It's got like little lines going through, making you think there's like 4 or 5 different stages. With this rifle in particular, it was pretty much a case of on or off. You had it full power, which we had 200, just check the chrono results here, we had 200 shots out of this thing until the shot count started going below 10 feet-pounds. It is an unregulated rifle, which does sort of work against it, but at the same time, with the size of that buddy bottle on there, you still get a ton of shots before that thing starts. Well, you notice any drop, we'll put it that way. Feature wise, as we said, with the power adjuster and such, it's got tons. The trigger is absolutely beautiful as well, by the way. That is a massive improvement over the standard Kral triggers, which again, standard Kral triggers aren't bad, but this one is just that little bit better. By a little bit better, I mean an entirely different league, a little bit better. But it is a really, really nice gun. You've also got a threaded barrel on the end here to fit a silencer. The gun's not the loudest gun on the planet anyway, to be honest. It's not exactly silenced, I wouldn't say, but it's definitely quieter than the PR900 that we shot the other day. I was going to do a decibel test on this, but we are outside and it would be a little bit unfair because obviously we tested those in the barn, so you would get a slightly inaccurate result if we did it out here. But the side lever, like we said, silky smooth. The trigger is gorgeous. The safety is nicely made. It looks pretty cool on the side there, but it's maybe not the most ergonomically minded safety, but I'm just nitpicking now, to be honest. You get the 2 mags as standard, which is always nice, and a single shot tray. Again, if I have to be nitpicky, they're a bit plasticky, whereas the Artemis ones are metal, but at the same time, well, we've yet to have a failure and you don't have to poke pellets in. Plus, if you can see that, you can see this on the left hand side of the gun. You barely even have to take your eye away from the scope and you can see just how many shots you have left in the mag. So while they are slightly plasticky feeling, they are a pretty cool mag, I've got to be honest with you. As we said, shot count is pretty good, 200 shots per fill. Can't complain about that, especially for an unregulated gun. I'm sure for the tinkerers out there, they'll probably be slapping a Umarex on there if there is one for these at the moment. They'll be slapping that on pretty much straight away, and that will absolutely turn this gun into a monster if you was to do that. I can tell you that here and now. So, accuracy results, that's the next most important thing. And if we pan down now and take a look, you can see these are our 25-yard results. And we put a few different pellets through. This is the best card what we had. The others were a little bit, not so much all over the place, and the wasps, you may remember, actually did pretty well. But the best result out of all of them, you see down here, was the rifle premium pellets. And we put the 5p down, gone. In fact, that 5p pretty much is massive in comparison to the group that we got. There was one shot off to the right, which, as you can see, easily still fits under the 5p piece. That is probably me, I'm not going to lie, but pretty superb. In fact, all of the groups, more or less. This one might not, that doesn't quite fit under a 5p piece. Got this one here, I believe these were the FTTs, almost 5p piece. Main cluster R, this one went a little bit low and right. Could have been me, could have been it didn't like the pellets too much. As I said, it didn't seem to like soft pellets very much. These were the JSBs up here, the standard weight JSBs. These are sub 5p as well. Like I said, I did get in touch with Weihrauch, who are the importers for these, and they did say that they do like JSB and such, but it usually is the 4.53 skirt pellets, whereas the ones that we had unfortunately were 4.52, so you might get much better results than this. To be fair, at the same time, you can see, I know there's two groups here, you got 3 and 3, so we did 6 shots for these, but these, I mean, they're pretty much, I don't know, maybe with the 4.53s that would just be one little hole sitting there. Could have been me, maybe I was yanking the trigger. I don't think I was, but you never know. You got to keep your options open with these sort of things, and when I'm concerned, the room for human error is probably pretty damn big. Then we moved on to 50 yards, because I didn't really like just to leave this thing at 25. I knew this thing could do much more, and it most certainly did. And if I just reach into my pockets for 2 seconds, one thing I'm just going to say is I'm currently being eaten alive by flying ants. If you can see them crawling over the gun case and such, I do apologise about that. But it's a bit stretched out right to left, as mentioned. Like I said, I'm being eaten here by flying ants, but this is actually due to the wind. We did have some pretty strong right to left wind. And if I just lift the camera up, you might be able to still see the target stake that's still sitting 50 yards down range there. And if we put the 20p down, you can see the main cluster is a 20p group. We had a few little flyers just here, and we had one went way low. That could have been a heavy pellet. To be fair, these are not weighed, these are straight out of the tin. And like I said, this gun has not had its barrel cleaned or anything like that. The only shots it's had through it are pretty much, other than a few shots to zero it, obviously, but it's pretty much what you've seen me put through for this review. So it's got a lot of room to improve, shall we say, once it leads in a bit more, or once the owner of said rifle decides to clean the barrel and such, it will definitely improve a hell of a lot. So, if I'm being honest, like I said, we do try to be as honest as possible with these reviews. I know I do sell these things, but at the end of the day, honesty is the best policy. If I had to pick something in this package that maybe I don't like too much, well, there's one or two little very minor niggles. Well, one of which is quite a hindrance, while the other one, like I said, is just a niggle. We'll get the niggle out the way first. The niggle is, I've been shooting a lot of lightweight guns in my past few reviews. You might see the last one we did with the PR900, and we've done a few lightweight break barrels and such in between then. And I was sort of getting used to lightweight guns. I'm usually a heavy gun guy. When I picked this up, to be fair, it's not a massively heavy feeling rifle. I know on the scales it come out pretty high, but when you shoulder the thing, it's nowhere near as bad as what you'd expect, we'll put it that way. But where I was shouldering such lightweight guns, this felt quite heavy in comparison. That being said, again, the more I shot it, the more I sort of got used to it. So it's a little bit of a niggle. It's one of them things where you get used to it, we'll put it that way. If you're going into this expecting to have a seriously light rifle you can hold with one hand, this is not going to be for you. The other little niggle is, and there's one niggle and the one semi-ish big problem with this. You probably can't see that because it's getting quite dark, but the recess in the bottom of the stock where the pressure gauge and the filling probe is, which is built into the gun, until you learn to put your hands a little bit further forwards of the stock, it can feel slightly uncomfortable maybe, because obviously your palm is going up into like an empty hole sort of thing. It just doesn't feel that natural. But again, you do get used to it. The main gripe with this gun, and again, even the main gripe isn't big. The fill probe that is built into this is too big. It won't fit your standard quick fit coupling. It does come with an adapter, however, but the adapter itself has a female thread built into it. It's a female threaded adapter, so obviously you're going to have a male threaded adapter to screw it in, so to speak. Now you can get other adapters out there on the market which obviously will turn the adapter on this into a quick fit adapter, so as it screws into that and then you just put it straight on your hose. But the standard one that's built into the gun isn't standard size. It's not UK size anyway, I'll put it that way. So if it gets a bit of a nuisance, keep having to thread the thing in. If you're used to the quick fit adapters, you might want to invest in an adapter again to turn this into a quick fit adapter. And I do apologise for the amount of times I said adapter there. I was trying to think of other words and I just couldn't. I had a brain fart moment. So adapter. But overall, yeah, it's a really, really impressive package. You've got the case, you've got the little box of goodies with your 2 mags and your single shot tray in there. It is also from new. You're not going to see it because it's dark, but hopefully you remember it from earlier. From standard, you've got the bipod or accessory port, shall we say, drilled in the 4-stock here, and you also get a little piece of weaver rail that screws in underneath here, so as you can attach a bipod to it, or you can put pretty much anything on that. There you go. See him? That's what I've had to deal with. It went down my neck. But yeah, that's pretty much. You get that with it. You get the, like I said, 2 mags, a single shot tray. You get the case, which is a pretty massive thing to have. You don't usually get something like this for a gun at this price point, but it is a lovely foam line case. You see what I mean? I'm sort of struggling to come up with negatives. But overall, I think that's pretty much it, if I'm being honest. If I had to rate the gun, I'm not a PCP man, but this is very quickly, this gun could convert me, I'll put it that way. It is a really, really, really lovely thing, and it is worlds better in my opinion. Not that this is anything against the standard puncher or anything like that, but it is a massive, massive improvement over the standard puncher rifles and such. It might be a little bit more expensive, but trust me, it is absolutely worth it. It is such a lovely feeling in shooting thing, it really is. Anyways, that's it for this Big Dan review. If there's any other rifles you want us to take a look at, please leave a comment down below. Yes, we are going to look at an S200 very soon. You know who you are, we will get onto it for you. We do have a Milbro Explorer break barrel that we'll be reviewing in the meantime, which was recommended by a good friend of mine called Steve, who I actually had a chat to today. So we'll get this all wrapped up and ready to go, and then after that, yeah, we'll see if we can maybe take a look at an S200, or maybe see if we've got any other air arms rifles we can get our hands on, and see how maybe that compares to the Kral and see which one I prefer. But overall, this could be my favourite PCP at the moment, which I don't say lightly, as you know I'm an Artemis man. Sorry, Zabroya and Regale. We'll see. That may change. We've got the Sapsan coming out soon. But so we'll see what happens. I'll keep my my opinions open. We'll put it that way. So Regale, yeah, if you want to send me a Sapsan to review, you know, when it comes out, I'm here. We're waiting. We want to see it. Anyways, thanks for watching, everyone. If you have any questions, leave a comment down.